get right in there, Dan.
Let's get right in there.
Get
So
right in there.
so we have a new show for everybody, for our NASS listeners, known as NASS Stay Tuned. This is going to be a monthly show where we're going to introduce television shows, movies that are going to be coming out for that current month. We are going to be your co-host, D Daddy Mac, and this is my co-host, Jay, the Rizzle of Dizzle.
Oh, I like that. I like that. All right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna stick with that. Can you write that down for me though? Because I don't know how to spell
done. Rizzle of
it.
Dizzle. Two Z's though. This one has two Z's.
Two Z's. All right.
Yeah. All right. So it's pretty straightforward. Quick little brief introduction about what the show is or movie and what our thoughts are. Right? Anything else I'm missing, Jose?
No, you pretty much got it covered. I wish you would have started this last month, because
Yeah.
last month was absolutely loaded with big things coming out.
Hmm.
Hey, better late than never. We can
Yeah.
kind of get right into it on this one. We're
Let's
going to
do it, man.
start with a TV show that's coming out on Apple TV called
Hmm.
Silo. This is like a sci-fi dystopian, like post-apocalyptic show. So it was developed by Graham Yost. It's
Mm.
either Yost or Yost. I'm gonna go with
Okay.
Yost. Yeah, it
I like
just sounds
Yoast.
better. Yeah, it
It's
sounds
got a little
better.
more swag to it.
Yeah. Some of the things that Graham is behind. So he wrote Speed, which we
Mm.
enjoy. We enjoy
Yes.
Speed.
Yep.
I haven't watched it, but he was also a writer on the successful show Justified
Nice.
on
Okay.
there. He's also produced Justified, a show that I like called Fallen Sky, another hit show called The Americans, and
Mm.
then also an Apple TV show called Slow Horses. So he's got some good projects under his belt.
Hmm.
This would be I'm assuming a weekly show because it's Apple TV coming out on May 5th. Um, yeah. So basically, the simple storyline for this is it's in the future where what's left of society has to live underground in a silo, hence the title, without going out into the world because the surface is too toxic.
Hmm.
I think, with only knowing that, I think we can know where this is probably going to go with this type of show. But, seeing the trailer, hearing that description, what are your initial thoughts on the show?
Yeah, so when I first heard Silo, I know it's based off of books, a book series.
Hmm.
I didn't really know anything about it, but when I watched the trailer, the dystopian world, I know it's been done quite a few times, but it sounds interesting. It reminded me when I watched the trailer, it reminded me a little bit like Lost, like the show Lost. Kind of has like a little bit of like that kind of supernatural feel a little bit to it. I saw that it has Rashida Jones and Tib Robbins in it, so I'm actually
Yeah.
excited about that. So
Well, and don't forget Rebecca Ferguson.
yeah, exactly. Yes. So it's got some pretty good people in this one, man. So I'm interested. I don't know. This is one of those shows, and even all the shows that you mentioned that this guy has done, I've heard of them all. I've never seen any of them. So I don't know. I don't really know necessarily what that means. It doesn't mean that I can necessarily not be interested in this one. I just never really gave them a chance. So I'm curious, man. Apple TV has been doing some good stuff lately. Their content has been getting pretty good. I watched Ted Lasso. I'm a Ted Lasso fan, but they
Same
have
here.
good shows, man. So Silo, I'm interested in. How about you?
Yeah, they don't put out too much. It's not like Netflix where you have new shows every single week.
Hmm.
But when they have put out stuff, generally the quality is good. So I guess, quality over quantity.
Hmm.
But out of the shows that he's like produced, like I said, I saw Fallen Skies. It was like a sci-fi, like alien invasion stuff. Not the
Hmm.
greatest show, but it was entertaining. I did enjoy it. It got canceled too early, and then I've seen the first season of Slow Horses, and that's just kind of like your spy thriller, and that was entertaining. So I am curious. I feel these type of shows, it's probably gonna heavily focus. Like you're gonna get that mystery of like what's really going on. Most likely, you're gonna get like, is the world really in the condition that the people are being told? Maybe some kind of rebellion. Got a lot of politics going through it. I feel like that's where the show's going to revolve around, um, which catches my interest as long as it's not over political. Sometimes when shows it's too much about the politics and you don't get much action, you don't get much of that sci-fi aspect of it can kind of throw me off. So that's the only thing. But I'm willing to give it a try.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll definitely give it a try as well, and based on how the first episode goes, I'll kind of go from there. It doesn't seem like one of those shows that I'm for sure going to give it a 3 episode run. I'm going to go
Mm.
episode by episode and kind of see, because these type of shows are ones that they tend to come out a lot. Like there tends to be a lot of shows like this, and there's a lot of them that are not great. So I kind of have to decipher which ones I really give an attempt to. And for these type of shows, I typically wait to see what general reactions are. So if it starts to get a lot of good praise, that's when I tend to give these shows a little more of a chance. But I do like Apple TV. Like you said, it's more the quality over the quantity, which I really appreciate. That's kind of where Netflix has kind of had some of their issues, is because they just release so much content. A lot of it's not great. So
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. There actually is another Apple TV show that I watched last year.
mhm.
It was like a spy thriller. This group gets, framed for something and they have to find stuff. Good premise overall, but by the end of it, I was like, this had no payoff. Like I
Oh,
felt like I wasted my time
that's
watching
what
it.
I
So I
hate,
so
man.
I hear you. So I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I might still give it the 3 episode try just because this type of show uh tends to take a couple episodes for some of those things to be revealed and see
Hmm.
if like it's interesting. So I don't know. We will see. Well, at least watch the first episode. For the next one, let's go to a movie. This one everyone knows is coming out. We got Guardians of the Galaxy. This is gonna be strictly the theaters to start. Comes out on the 5th. James Gunn is behind it. This is like his last, as of now, who knows what can happen in the future, his last hurrah in the MCU before he's full time on running DC's side of things overall. But basically, the concept that I got out of this is, Rocket is in danger because of his past, and the team is doing whatever they can to protect him. And this, as of right now, is set to be the last Guardian of the Galaxy movie as presently constructed. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I love the Guardians franchise. The first one I still hold so highly as an MCU film. Is by far one of my favorites, like easily top three of my favorite MCU movies. I'm excited for part three. Part two was good. It was solid. It wasn't as good as three, but it was still really solid. Part three looks really fun. I've seen the clips that they've released on Twitter, and it seems really funny. I like that it seems like they go back to Earth. So you see Peter Quill kind of struggling with like him driving the vehicle, and it seems like he's kind of struggling to drive with that. But it seems like they're gonna take a really comedic approach, like they always do. It seems like they're setting up to have Rocket Raccoon's death, which makes me think maybe that won't happen, because I know Dave Bautista talked about not returning as Drax, so it makes sense that maybe that's the direction that they go in. I don't think they'd kill off Groot. It seems like they're gonna have more Disney Plus things for him going forward. I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I am excited for it. I do agree with you. The first one, still the best, still one of the best movie soundtracks that there is
Yeah.
overall. And then the second one is the first one was so good that I feel the second one gets hated on too much
Mm-hmm.
because it's not as good as the first. But if you take the first one out of the picture, the second one is a solid movie
Yeah.
overall. It just doesn't compare to the first. So I feel people bash it a little too much because of that. Uh, I feel I just have a good feeling about this movie. I might end up being completely wrong, but I feel with them again, this being their last hurrah for that team as presently constructed and James Gunn, like I feel they're gonna go all out. And so far, I guess early screenings have been positive for it. So,
Mm.
which doesn't always mean any something, but
Yeah.
you know, it's all pointing to this is going to be entertaining. I actually have not watched any clips beyond the first trailer. Saw the first trailer, I'm like, okay, I'm in. I was like, I want to catch everything in the movie itself. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
want to hear it for the first time, laugh for the first time. So I've avoided actually any other clips, any other trailers. All I have is that first trailer in my
That's
head.
good.
But I'll be there first weekend to watch this. Maybe we might have to do a review once that comes out.
Absolutely, man. I'm totally down for that. It'll be fun. I think it's going to be a good send off for James Gunn. I'm kind of sad that he's leaving the MCU because I think he's a good. I like his creativity. I like the energy that he brings. I'm really curious and somewhat excited to see what he does with with DC. But it seems like I think it's more the fans that are unfairly attacking him and what he's doing. I completely understand he has to take it a new direction. So I'm not surprised that he's taking it that way. I just don't like the way that how they release some of these later DC projects. But for regarding James Gunn and Guardians, it's going to be a good send off, man. I think he's going to go out good with it.
Yeah, and I really do hope it's good and it's successful,
Hmm.
just to kind of at least temporarily silence all like the Snyderverse cult
Hmm.
fanatics
Yeah,
that are out there that are just hating on him just because he's not Snyder,
yeah,
and hating on it before he even really starts. So I hope this is good to remind people like, hey, he can put out good products.
yeah,
So give him a chance
yeah,
to put out some of these DC products. Then if it's shit, then bury him. Then judge the
yeah.
hell out of it.
Then
But give it a
rightfully,
chance to at least
yeah.
happen. Going back to the TV show aspect of it, we have this one came out of nowhere for me. I didn't even know this was being developed. We got Gremlins: Secret of the Mogwais. This is going to be a HBO Max original, or as they're calling it, just Max original, because they're dropping the HBO
Yeah.
aspect of it. This was developed by, and probably going to butcher his name again, Zay Chun,
Okay.
TZE. We'll go with Zay Chun. I know that he's written on a show called Gotham, also another show that was successful I never watched called Once Upon a Time.
Mm.
So Gotham was up and down with its writing choices. And then I've never seen Once Upon a Time, so I kind of don't know what we're gonna get from him
Yeah.
going into this. It is an animated series, and basically the general concept of it is Gizmo and two teenagers going on a quest, fighting monsters and spirits from like Chinese folklore, while avoiding some power-hungry industrialists with an army of gremlins. That that's that's a lot. That's a mouthful right there. So,
Yeah.
what are your initial thoughts going in?
Yeah, I didn't know they were doing this, and I just saw a trailer that popped up, and I was like, "They're doing a Gremlins cartoon." So that's how I first saw it was the trailer. It it looks like a kid show. When I read the quick synopsis on it, or it just says Sam Wing in his youth and Gizmo in China. So Sam Wing, is that the guy that sells them later? I'm not sure because it just threw me off that says in his youth. So I'm not sure why. Maybe we see him later, but the fact that it's still Gizmo, which tells me it takes place like a long time ago in China. How old is Gizmo then? I thought is he sort of like a Grogu situation where he's like, so many hundred of years old, but he's still like a
He's still a
child?
kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking also. They probably just age very, very slowly. So that's the first thing I thought of also was this is like a Grogu situation.
Yeah.
Um, so it is animated, but I know people think animated and automatically think, okay, children, family, but it's not really the case. You have different types of animations. You have animation that's geared towards adults, some that are geared towards teenagers, some that are geared towards the younger audience. So that you can't just put it into one box. Overall,
Mm.
you have to look at the content.
Yeah.
That being said, this does seem like it's geared more towards the young kids and the family, not so much towards us. I mean, that might change once it starts, but at least that's what I got out of the trailer. It makes me personally a little hesitant to check it out. I love Gremlins, and even though the Gremlins movies themselves, they're kind of still family movies. The horror in it wasn't anything crazy,
Yeah.
but this seems like this might be leaning too much towards kids to really pique my interest.
Same.
So I might just let it happen. Then, depending on reception or what people say, if it is maybe a little more grown up, then I might dive in.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm probably not really gonna realistically watch it unless it gets really good praise. But other than that, I'll just wait for a Gremlins reboot. Hope for the best.
Yeah, it might be good. I just don't think I'm the demographic for it. Going back to movies, one that we've discussed multiple times on this podcast, not always in a positive light, but we have we have Fast X.
Yes.
This is being directed by Louis Leterrier or Leterrier, whichever we want to go. If you're feeling fancy, overall, it's got a lot of the same people in it: Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Luda. You know, everyone who's died and come back to life within this series. But then we're also adding Jason Momoa. We're adding Brie Larson, and we're adding Alan Richson onto it also. So we do have some bigger names coming into it. I guess the whole concept of this one is the son of the Fast Five villain is going after the team for revenge for what they did to his father and basically to his future because they you know pretty much took the father's like fortune and money. So I'm sure that can affect you growing up. You don't have the same luxuries overall. So he's a little angry and he's going after the team, mostly Dom's son. On top of that too. So what are your thoughts?
So yeah, I mean, it feels like the people that you mentioned, Brie Larson and Jason Momoa, it feels like they've already been in this. So this movie kind of feels like deja vu to me. I've long dropped out of Fast and the Furious franchise, but it just seems like a deja vu movie. Even the premise you mentioned, like haven't they already done this already? It just seems like another throwaway one. I'm not gonna watch it. I'm just gonna stay away from it. It's not doing anything original or anything to really grab my attention. I did read that the next one, Fast 11, is supposed to be the last one, but I just really doubt that if people keep going to watch these movies. So I blame society.
Yeah. You hear that? It's you guys' fault.
It's you guys.
Uh, this might be a wait till streaming for me. Unlike you, I've actually kept up with the series overall through the good times, through the bad, and through the very, very bad. Overall, but and I held strong because it's a bubblegum blockbuster, mindless action. It's good to have those around just for pure entertainment. Uh, but this series is just it's jumped all the sharks. It jumped the whole Sharknado. Like overall, it's just the last one I think broke me to the point where I've seen all of them in theater. And the last one, it just broke me that I was like, I don't know if I can do it again. I might
Yeah.
catch it on streaming if I have nothing else to watch. Unless all of a sudden everyone's like, they actually fixed everything. But watching the trailer alone with the little takeout two helicopters with the car like scene, I was like, this is the same. Red flags left and right. This is the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
I'm not going back. So
Yeah.
it's such a shame because when it was good.
I believe that because there's a reason why people keep going back to these movies. There's clearly something. I don't know what it is because I've been so far removed. I think I was stuck on the idea of what Guardian of what I was so stuck on the idea of what Fast and the Furious 1 was. And I know it's completely different now and it's an entirely different franchise. I just was so far off removed that I just don't really know what it is anymore. But cool. I get it.
Well, if you ever find out what it is, tell the people behind it because I think they don't know either
Yeah.
what they want it to be.
Yeah. Sounds
Uh,
good.
all right, going to the next show, we have Class of '09. Very weird name.
Yeah.
Overall, when I first saw the name, I thought this is going to be maybe like a high school drama or
Yes.
like a college drama, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's going to be it's a Hulu series, limited series. So we're probably
Mm,
only gonna get maybe 4 to 6 episodes.
cool.
Comes out on the 10th. It stars Kate Mara, who we know from Fantastic Four, Shooter, 24. I saw Brian Tyree Henry was in it,
Mm-hmm.
which we recently saw in Bullet Train,
Mm-hmm.
Child's Play, The Eternals. Uh, basically the idea about it is it follows an FBI class across 3 points in their career and just kind of the conflicts that are being created by evolving AI capabilities and how it affects how they do their job. So very plain concept. Uh, but I don't know. I saw the trailer and I'm like, I'm kind of intrigued. If done well, this can be a good spy thriller, and I like a good spy thriller. And I think the fact that it's a limited series, so I know the most I probably have to commit is, maybe 6 episodes, maybe 8 pushing it, but most likely 6. I'm like, it might be worth a try overall. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I felt the same way. When I heard Class of '09, I immediately thought Yellow Jackets. I thought it was like some kind of class reunion or something. So I was completely surprised because I had never heard of it until we started prepping for the show. So I watched the trailer. Like the actors that you said, I really like Brian Tyree Henry in Atlanta. I think he's phenomenal in that show. But when I saw the actors, it caught my interest. The premise doesn't sound like something I normally watch, but when I watched the trailer, it was so cool visually that it caught my interest. And I thought, okay, I'm actually more stoked for this than I am for Silo for whatever reason. I just think the visual element of this looks intriguing to me. The fact that it's a limited series, I'm definitely going to give it a shot. I hoping it's just like 6 episodes, but the reason why I love limited series so much, especially when you have these kind of thrillers, suspense, any character can die at any time, even if you have big name characters, because it's such a limited run. I feels like the writers behind it go all in on this, and I really really want to see that. So I'm interested. The first episode, as long as it catches my interest and is pretty good and it's intriguing, I'm definitely going to go back and watch more. It really has to tank for that to happen. With it bouncing to 3 different timelines, I know shows are starting to do that a lot more where you kind of see the different timeline jumps, but there's so much things you can do with that from a story standpoint, things that we as the audience could know the answer to, but the characters don't when we go back to a flashback moment, that you can kind of reveal things in cool ways. So it's a cool storytelling technique that people are starting to figure out, and I'm intrigued. How about you?
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point with the limited series when you don't have to work. Because I feel a lot of times this happens with movies now that are trying to go into franchise. This happens with shows with too much. They try to build sometimes too much for further seasons, even if it's not guaranteed. And they can
Mm-hmm.
actually leave a season bare bones
Yeah.
in a way where you're at the end, you're left with a bunch of questions, not many answers. Overall, so with limited series, when you don't have to worry about the next series, you're right. They can go all in. Anyone's at risk. It adds to the tension. It adds to the intrigue of where they're gonna go. So that does make me very curious about it. And then I hear you, and I agree for the most part with the timeline aspect of it. The only thing is sometimes with the timeline aspects, it can go wrong because it can become convoluted. Where sometimes if it's not edited the right way or you're not making the jumps at the right point, it can become confusing for the audience members or not really fit in, or you have to make it clear. Because I know I've watched shows. It actually happened with the season 1 of The Witcher,
Mm-hmm.
where I had no idea for a little bit that we were in 2 different timelines.
Yeah.
And they got to a point where I was like, wait, that what are they doing here? Like, and they got confused because they didn't make it clear that you're doing these
Mm-hmm.
jumps.
Yeah.
So it can be a really good way to tell a story, but it has to be edited right. It has to be placed right for the jumps, and it has to
Mm-hmm.
be clear that
Yeah.
these jumps are happening for the audience. Uh, one last thing that I did forget regarding the premise that I thought was interesting is these people that got selected for this class are not people that were within law enforcement. And I think that adds a different twist to it. They had completely different careers. I don't remember exactly what the careers, but it's like, let's say someone who was like an accountant and they brought him in. Then they brought in a teacher. So they're bringing people from different careers and different aspects that are
Mm.
not law enforcement and bringing them in to become FBI agents. So I am
Mm.
curious how that plays out because you usually don't see that with these type of shows. It comes out on the 10th on
Okay.
Hulu.
Man, a lot of these are coming out around May 5th, May 10th, like very beginning of May. I noticed.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think the only one we had that was later was the Gremlins for the TV shows.
The one that we're not going to check out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
all right, the last movie that we have on our list is the Little Mermaid.
Hmm.
This comes out on 5/26. It's directed by Robert Marshall. Um, it's the same story. We all know. If
Yeah.
you've watched The Little Mermaid before, you know what the story is. We don't need to rehash it. But what are your thoughts?
The whole Disney adaptation of live action, I haven't seen one yet that I've really loved because it seems like it's just shot for shot pretty much the same. The Lion King was the one where I was just like, "Oh my God." And I love the Lion King cartoon, but the live action, like you can't get their facial expressions, so you lose so much of that. And Little Mermaid, it kind of feels a little bit like the same. Like, granted, they have facial expressions and everything, but it still seems like a shot for shot remake with just slight variations. I know Little Mermaid is huge, huge, like one of the most popular Disney cartoon. So I know the movie's gonna do well. I like the actress that they casted as her, Holly Bailey. She's good. Um, I don't know if I'm gonna get anything out of this movie. When I heard Melissa McCarthy casted as Ursula, I was like, okay, like I guess, And then I see her and it's just like, okay, like everything looks so CG. It just doesn't seem real to me. I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, so I actually have not seen any other live action adaptation of Disney. I've had no interest in
Good
watching
for
all
you.
of them.
Good for
And
you
then
though.
everything, all the comments I've heard afterwards just reinforce that decision that I made. I just go watch the original if I want to watch it, especially if you're not giving me anything new. I remember I saw a clip from the Lion King, and it was creepy in the scene that should not be creepy. When the lion, I forget what was happening, but they're like emoting vocally, but their face is just like staring, like
Stoic.
not showing any emotion. I'm like, that's so creepy, like at this
Yeah,
point in
that's the
time.
whole movie. So imagine when Mufasa dies and then Simba's supposed to be showing emotion and crying, but then he just looks like a little cub. Like that's what
Yeah.
the movie was. So I'm like, I don't understand this. Like, why would they think this is a good idea?
No, yeah. So my interest in these live adaptations is always been at zero. I'm not gonna lie though, part of me wants to go see it and check it out in spite of like all the haters that want the movie to fail just because they casted Ariel as black.
Yeah.
Uh, so part of me like wants to see it for that and
Hmm.
it to do really well just so it yeah, gets thrown right back in their face.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie, I have that inner urge of
Yeah.
like, oh, I hope this is the
Yeah.
most successful live action
Yeah.
movie that there is. Show those haters.
Yeah. And then we get Little Mermaid 2, Ariel in space. We're like, yeah.
Oh man, space mermaids.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
space mermaids.
There you go, man.
Write that down.
Multi-billion-dollar idea.
All right, and then going on to our final project that we have in here is a TV show called Bupkis.
Hmm.
This is going to be on Peacock, another streaming service show. Comes out 5/4, another early in the month release.
Hmm.
This stars Pete Davidson as Pete Davidson and
Hmm.
Joe Pesci, I believe, as his father. And you can tell from the trailer, it has a bunch of other guest stars,
Yeah.
well-known people and comedians that are going to be showing up in there. I think I even saw Method Man in there in the
Really?
trailer.
Oh,
I think
nice.
I'll have to
Hey.
rewatch the trailer, but I think I
Yeah.
even saw him in there. Pete Davidson is writing and producing. It's to keep it as simple as possible. It's a series by Pete Davidson about Pete Davidson. It's pretty much just a fictionalized version of his life. I didn't even know this was coming out until you mentioned it, and I checked out the trailer. But what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so this is one that like I didn't really know too much about, but I just knew that Joe Pesci was going to start a TV show. So that's how this show got on my radar about it. Um Pete Davidson, I'm not a huge Pete Davidson fan of terms of him as an actor, but I really do give props that he's kind of evolved a little bit. This show seems more tailored to what he does, and when you watch the trailer, it actually doesn't look bad, like in terms of like his acting or anything. It seems like it's right in his wheelhouse. So if Pete Davidson can't play Pete Davidson, then I don't know if he's ever going to be able to make it as an actor. You know what I mean? It's like, but I have watched quite a few Pete Davidson movies, and it's not that he's like awful or anything like that. It's just he's very limited in what he does because he's not a real actor. He's more of a comic, right? He's more of a stand-up comic. But Joe Pesci coming back, like Joe Pesci was retired from acting for a long time, and Martin Scorsese brought him back to do that movie, The Irishman, with him and Robert De Niro. And it seems like now Joe Pesci seems open to it. So now he's doing this show. And then it has Eddie Falco, who plays his mom, which is in The Sopranos. I saw Brad Garrett, Charlie Day, even Simon Rex from the old MTV days. It's crazy. So I kind of like the idea of people playing themselves, but like a different version, like a different warped version of it. It's been done very well many times. Sometimes it not so much, but this one seems like it has the right backing. I think it could be a funny show. I want to check it out. You know, I've always long said on our shows that we don't get enough comedy anymore because of the culture that we're in. So I'm curious to see how this one goes, but it kind of has like that dramedy feel to it, and I'm interested. I'll definitely check it out. How about you?
Yeah, no, it's like because I was watching the trailer, seeing all these people pop up, and the first thing popped in my head, I was like, all right, Pete Davidson called in a lot of favors. It was like,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
doing this show. Let's look through my phone. Who do I know? And let's get them
Hmm.
all like in here.
Yeah,
Get all the favors. I will say this. As I watch this, I got I forget what is the title. Is King of Lost Long
yep,
Island?
yeah,
I
yeah,
got that vibe, which I believe
yeah,
that one was also supposed to be like this loosely based fictional version of his life where he was technically playing himself. So
yeah,
this seems like it's a more extended version of kind of what we got in King of Long Island.
yeah. Is it one that
No,
you think you'll check out?
I think so.
Yeah,
Again, like you said, and we've complained about this so much, is the comedy shows and quality comedy movies. It oh man, it's a drought out there. It is a drought out there. So I'm willing to give most comedy shows at least a try to find something I can watch and laugh at on a consistent basis. So why not?
yeah, exactly. And actually, Peacock's been putting out some pretty decent content. You know, so I'm not mad at that. I think they found a good home for it.
And we'll be doing this at the beginning of every month with any big projects that are going to come out. Sometimes there'll be seven, sometimes there might only be four.
Yeah,
We will see.
yeah. So May seems like it's really packed, and they have a lot of them fighting around the same time. So basically, we do the research so that you don't have to. That way, you can watch our episodes, get a good grasp of what it is that interests you, what you feel like, what do you feel like watching, and then of course you can always watch the trailers yourselves, and then let us know what you guys are gonna be checking out. But this is kind of the idea behind our show. Stay tuned. So this is what we want to keep doing. I'm your host, D Daddy Mac.
I'm not your host. I am, what was it? Jay
Jay, the
Rizzle.
Rizzle of Dizzle.
Okay, Jay the Rizzle of Dizzle.
Dizzle.
And
Yep.
with two Z's.
With two Z's. Yeah. So like, subscribe, comment, share on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Not a Strong Start. And this is an episode of NASS. Stay tuned.